Well, hello. Welcome to Diverticulitis 101. I'm Robin. If you didn't know, I'm the creator of Diverticulitis Rescue, and I'm a health coach, life coach, yoga teacher, and now it looks like I'm a diverticulitis coach. Didn't really set out to do that, but it just kind of happened. And, I was diagnosed with diverticulitis. It's been 16 years now. And it was hell. It was hell. But I managed to kind of get on the other side of this. And that's why I created Diverticulitis Rescue, so I could teach people what I do. And so let's just go ahead and dive in and get started. So today you're going to learn a lot about like journaling, the importance of journaling. You're going to learn the difference between gas and bloating and a flare. That's a big question that seems to come up a lot in the group. You're going to learn how to use the protocol to get out of a flare if you're already in one, how to head off a flare, and also how to manage your diverticulitis naturally. Okay, so there's a lot of different things that we're doing with the protocol. And basically, that's what we're going to go over today. This is like an overview of everything. Okay, everything Diverticulitis Rescue. This is the overview workshop. Let me let somebody in, y'all. Bear with me. Okay. All right. So just a little bit about me, a little bit about my story. So again, I was diagnosed 16 years ago. Before I was diagnosed, I had a lot of problems that were cropping up. And I was going to this doctor and that doctor, and, they send you to this specialist and that specialist. I always had gut issues, always. Since I was a child, I've always had stomach issues, headaches, things like that, constipation. As I got older, it continued, but then it was more of the IBS type symptoms where you're constipated and then, you go this way, you go one way or the other. Always had gas and bloating. I'm a thin person, and when I was a child, I was a stick. But after I ate, my belly always was extended. It looked like I was pregnant. So this is something that that IBS is something that I've suffered with my whole life. So when I had my flare, a couple of years before, I was having some issues. My red blood cells were bursting too soon, had a lot of inflammation. Again, the gut issues, brain fog, all of that stuff. Everything that everybody's got, I had. And then I got pregnant with my son, and a lot of the gut issues just disappeared for some reason. I'm still not 100% sure why, unless it was the prenatals or maybe the stem cells, repair. Sometimes when the baby stem cells repair some of the mother's damage, so who knows. But after I gave birth, everything flooded back times 10. Because now I had the extra weight and all that. I was walking around for 10 months. I was walking around with high blood pressure, which I had never had in my life. I had a low-grade fever. For a few months before my diagnosis, I had the low-grade fever, and I would go to the doctors, and they would just, they said, well, maybe it's lupus. So they put me on Plaquenil for lupus, and, maybe it's MS. And I'm like, well, I don't want that test. If it is, I don't want to know. I mean, that's where I was at with it. My blood cells were still bursting. They said, lose weight, you're depressed, all those things. You look healthy, you're fine, is basically what I was getting. And then one day I just ended up with that lower left sharp pain that everybody gets. It took me, I was probably a couple of days before I actually went to the urgent care, because I'm a little stubborn. I try to manage things myself. And when I got there and they did the blood work and the CT scan, I was a mess. Okay, so I had the inflammation started in my lower left, and it went up and it went across my pancreas. And my white blood cells were through the roof. So they're thinking pancreatic cancer or something like that. Okay, so they admitted me to the hospital. And so I'm like, oh, everybody knows pancreatic cancer. That's like, you really can't recover from that. So that's what's in my head when I'm in the hospital. And on I believe it was day 2, they did a colonoscopy. Okay, now the whole time I was at the hospital, I used the bathroom. It was constant. So I think it was all those years of buildup needed to come out. Okay. And then it was time to do the colonoscopy. I couldn't get finished with the stuff. It was too much. I was coming out both ends, and they let me have a bye on it. And then they came back and they're like, well, you have diverticulitis. And you're not supposed to have that. You're too young. I was 35 years old at the time. They're like, that's an old person's disease. And I'm like, okay, what do I do? So they actually discharged me. They gave me my discharge papers. Here's your antibiotics. My cocktail used to be the Flagyl and the Cipro. So that was always what I took. And here's your paper. Go on a low residue diet. When you're feeling better, pound the fiber. You know, the Metamucil, Benefiber, you know, all that stuff, fiber supplements, whatever. So that's what I did. You know, it's funny. I could eat, right? So I'm looking at this sheet and it's saying everything's white, right? So you know where I go on the way home from the hospital? Bojangles. It's a biscuit. A biscuit's white, right? They have mashed potatoes. They have macaroni and cheese. So these were the things that I was getting to feed myself, you know, which now I'm like, oh my God, no wonder I'm such a mess. So that was the kind of the cycle I was on. So I would feel better. I would start pounding the fiber. I was never really good with those fiber drinks. I can't do it. So I did like the, I believe it was called FiberCon. It was like the capsules. So that's what I would do. And I found that it made me worse. I was getting more constipated. It wasn't helping. And so I would say I was probably flaring every 4 or 5 months, but I always smoldered. And so I was on this 3-year cycle to go get my colonoscopies. So, you know, I'm flaring and then I get better, and then I'm flaring and then I'm getting better. And so year 3 so it had been my second colonoscopy. I still had it on the lower left, but I had a polyp this time. Okay. So they removed the polyp. It's clear. You're good. Come back in 3 years. I'm still flaring. I'm worse. I've got the brain fog. You couldn't even touch me. It hurt. My skin hurt. I couldn't get out of bed without everything hurt. And I don't know if y'all have ever experienced that, where you just try to creep out of bed and it just takes a while to get moving. I had other things going on in my life too. I had an angry teenager. I really wasn't happy with my marriage, and I had a new baby. You know, well, I guess he was growing by that point. So I had a lot of stress on me, a lot of stress. So it was time for me to get that year 6 colonoscopy. So it would have been the 3rd colonoscopy, and I was doing everything they told me to do. Everything that everybody, you know, that y'all are doing. You're just like, you're going on your antibiotics, you're going on a low residue diet, you're trying to eat more fiber, and then you're just on this vicious cycle, right? So when I got that 3rd colonoscopy at year 6, it came back, I had developed it in 3 more areas in my colon. Like this, okay? And they're like, you got to get surgery. And I'm kind of like, I'm still young, you know, I don't want to get surgery. And are you going to take the whole thing out? Right? Because you got it in all these corners. What are you going to do? And they couldn't guarantee me that I wouldn't have a bag. And I just couldn't imagine my life, you know, having a bag and not having a colon. You know, basically your life's over, you know, in your head when you're that young. So I just didn't accept that as being my fate. So I went down so many rabbit holes, it was ridiculous. I tried the alkaline water and this and that and all that. And finally, I came across a gut summit. It was online. I believe Food Matters was who was hosting it. And if y'all ever get an opportunity to take one of those gut summits, do it, because they'll have all kinds of speakers. There's lots of information that you can find. But Dr. Axe was one of the people, you know, that helped. He comes at things from a leaky gut perspective. So I listened to him, Dr. Hyman, just different doctors. I was just kind of taking some of what they were saying, and I was making my own, you know, basically program, I guess. And eventually I started to gain traction. Okay. It took some time. I went gluten-free. I wasn't perfect, but I was starting to feel a little bit better, but I just wasn't quite getting the handle on it as much as I like. So I remember I went to my GI doctor for like a follow-up. And I was telling him, I'm like, I don't know. I'm still, I've got this bloating and this pain and all this. And he handed me the low FODMAP diet. And I looked at that and I started to cry because I'm like, I'm eating, this is all I'm eating. And I'm eating healthy too, by the way. So I by that time I was eating healthy. I was eating vegetables. I was eating asparagus and mushrooms and things like that. But that's high FODMAP on the right. And so I'm looking at it, I'm crying. I'm like, what am I supposed to eat? Right? Nothing. I had lost 50 pounds from the point of when I was diagnosed. And I don't know, it probably took about 6 months or so. I had gotten way down with my weight. So I lost a ton of weight. I had a little bit to lose because I had a baby, but I got way too skinny, way too anemic. So when your red blood cells burst, and y'all pay attention to your blood work. Ask your doctors about your blood work, okay? Ask to see it. Sometimes they don't tell you, because I went back and I got my records and my red blood cells were big and they never told me. But this is part of the whole leaky gut thing, right? And you're not getting enough oxygen and things, B12. So it's like a folate B12 type of deficiency. You're not absorbing your nutrients. And there's some people in the group that are iron deficient. So just kind of check on that. So when you're iron deficient, your red blood cells are too small and they're not getting oxygen there. When they're too big, they get big, they burst before their life cycle. So you're not getting your full benefit. But anyway, so it just took me some time to kind of crank through this and to figure this out. I joined the YMCA. I started to exercise. I exercised with smoldering diverticulitis. I smoldered for years, y'all. I smoldered. It was spongy. I used to have the spasms. The colon spasms were pretty bad. And then eventually, I just didn't notice it anymore. I just didn't. It was gone. All the flares were gone. Now, I would get like a tinge here and there, but I didn't flare anymore. And it's been 10 years since I've had that, take an antibiotic, and since I've flared. So once I made that decision to go the healthy route, to start fixing the leaky gut, to tack it from a leaky gut perspective, that's when things started to shift for me. And that's why I've created the protocol that I've created. Okay. So it's okay. Let me get through this a little bit. Hold on a minute. Yeah. Okay, we can go ahead and move on to that section. So I created the protocol to be able to help other people do this basically the way I do. So you've got your stages in the protocol. So that's more about diet, right? So that's more about fiber. It's to get you to be able to eat fiber, eventually get into that high fiber diet, right? Because that is what's going to help you manage this. And I know it's scary, but you got to get the fiber into your diet. And that's what the stages do. So it's kind of like two-part. It's looking at the sugar in the fiber and it's looking at the fiber itself. So there's two things there that we got to look at. But when you're getting into stage 1 and stage 2, that's the rest and repair stage. That's the fixing the leaky gut stage. Okay. Now, when you get to a point to where you have holes in your colon, they didn't just appear one day. Okay. This is something that's happened over time. And, it's compromised. Those little pouches are thinner. So you are more likely to leak poo and things into your bloodstream. And that's what's causing a lot of the inflammation throughout your body, whether it's brain fog in your joints or autoimmune problems, whatever it is, it's because your gut needs to be repaired. And that's what stage 1 and stage 2 does. Now we do that with stage 1, we do that with liquids. Now, if you look in my protocol, I don't say clear liquids, I say liquids because I think it's important that if you juice some very alkaline type juicy vegetables like romaine, carrots, like cucumber, turmeric, and ginger, you're giving yourself nutrition. Because I see all too much that people are getting on this liquid diet and they're not getting the nutrients and they're staying on it too long. So I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's a good idea to really give your body some nutrition while you're healing. Give it something, okay? And then we're going to use supplementation to help boost. So that's where the supplements come in. The supplements aren't going to fix it per se. If you're going in and you're, sorry, I got to let somebody in. If you're coming at this from a perspective of, well, I'm just going to take supplements, give me my oil of oregano, and you're not working the protocol, you're not working those stages, you're not going to get better. I'm sorry. It's just, you might get a little bit better, but this is a whole lifestyle change. This is a lifestyle. You're adopting a new way of being. Okay. So we're going to use the supplements to boost the healing process, and you can do this without those. Okay. So I didn't have the oil of oregano. I didn't have the olive leaf. I didn't even take a probiotic. Okay. The only thing I took back then was the Transformation Digest, which by far, that's going to be my #1 supplement that I recommend. It just makes all the difference. And I'll tell you why as we get through. So when you're in stages 1 and stage 2, low fiber, low sugar, you want it to be soft, easy to digest when you're coming into stage 2. Okay, you got to give that colon a break. Don't make it work. Okay, and you want to promote healing. So you're going to put stuff in your body that promotes healing. So if you're going and you're getting Jell-O off the shelf with the red dyes and the extra sugars and things like that, that's not promoting healing. That's actually promoting more inflammation. Okay, but Jell-O's good, but you got to make your own. You got to get a better quality, organic, things like that. Okay. And then we get into still stages 2 through 4, but mostly 3, 4. But when you get into stages 2 through 4, we're replenishing and we're restoring the gut. We're replenishing the gut bacteria. Okay. And we're restoring that natural balance. And it's going to take a while for y'all to figure out what your balance is. My balance is different from your balance. Okay, your gut bugs, what you have in there is as different as your fingerprint. Okay, there's no 2 guts that are going to be the same. It depends on where you live, what you're used to eating, and all of that, and your culture and things like that. So you got to take that into account when you're in the group and somebody says, well, I can eat this, you can eat that. It doesn't mean you can eat it too. So you really have to track when it comes to when you're eating the foods and adding stuff back into your diet. So what we do when we're in stages 2 through 4, we're actually replenishing that gut bacteria. We're putting them back into your gut because there's a deficit there. And then we're feeding them. So I don't know if you're a visual type of person, just imagine them in there, right? And they're starving. And they got all these bad guys in there coming at them, just trying to kill them off, right? So we got to get those numbers up. We got to get the good guys up. So we're going to replenish, we're going to get those numbers up, and we're going to feed them so they can combat the bad guys and keep them at bay. Because you're always going to have bad guys in your gut. Okay. You're always going to have them in there, but you got to find that balance so they don't take over. Because now we got a situation where we have holes in our colon and it gets dire. You don't want to let that go too far. Okay. All right. So any questions about that before I get to the meat of the workshop? And again, if you just arrived, if I just let you in, if you have a question for me, go down to the bottom of your screen and you'll see like a little box that says chat. Just click on that and just type in your questions. And I have it pulled up beside of me. And I'll either answer it if it has to do with the topic that we're talking about. We can answer it then, or I'll wait towards the end of the workshop to answer your questions. So please feel free to ask me questions. That's how we learn and how we get further along with this. All right. Journaling, very, very important part of this process. This is what's going to create awareness. You're not going to remember. You're not, well, I remember what I had yesterday no, you're looking for patterns and you're looking for your triggers. It might take you a couple of weeks to figure it out, and you may not. But definitely track everything. Track everything. Okay. So in your email, I sent you the email when you first joined, and then I sent you a reminder. If you got a reminder email today, you have a journal, a 28-day journal. Now, if you want to use that, you can actually fill it in on your computer, and you can use it over and over again. Some people do good printing it out, putting it in a notebook, and putting it in the kitchen or beside their bed or wherever. If you prefer to use an app, use an app. Just a regular notebook and jot it down. But keep up with that and make sure you're keeping up with your food, what supplements you took, what your bowel movements are, how much water you're drinking, your mood. Definitely keep up with your mood as well, because that ties into all of this. That's that mind-body connection. You know, you see a lot of people saying, well, I eat well, I eat healthy, but I'm stressed out. Well, stress kills off gut bacteria and causes inflammation in your body. Okay. All right. You also received a quick guide and a supplement cheat sheet. So refer back to that supplement cheat sheet. I do recommend that y'all, you know, have that stuff on hand. Don't wait till you're in a flare to get the stuff. Okay. Don't wait until you have bad gas and bloating before you get the activated charcoal. Go ahead and have that. Look at that as like your medicine cabinet, your natural holistic medicine cabinet. And these things can be used for more than diverticulitis. Okay. All right. Any questions about tracking? All right, let's see. Elizabeth, what type of vegetables are more recommended for juicing? I would just keep it simple, especially early on. If you're not used to juicing, which I'm going to cover that actually here in a little bit. But if you're not used to juicing, I would just do a few ingredients. Now, if you want to sweeten it, it's okay to sweeten it, but sweeten it with a green apple, like a Granny Smith, because you don't want the sugar to be in there, because then that could cause you the gas and the bloating. So we're avoiding that gas and bloating as much as possible. So romaine, cucumbers do good. Be careful with celery. Celery is high FODMAP. So you see some people say, well, celery juice, that's good, did this and that. Well, unless you know for sure that you don't have a problem with celery juice, I wouldn't start with that. That's for sure. I think it's like 1/8 of a stalk or 1/4 of a stalk is considered low FODMAP, but I would just leave it out if you're in these early stages and if you're inflamed. Okay. Turmeric, ginger, that's going to handle your inflammation. You can squeeze a little bit of lime juice in there, and it's actually kind of brightens it up. I would even put a little bit of sea salt in there, and that'll help, you know, kind of replenish your fluids and stuff too. Michelle, if something doesn't work well with your system, when should we expect to have symptoms? Right away? I'm getting ready to cover that right now. That's what we're getting ready to go into. So let's go ahead and get into that. All right. So this is what's the difference between gas, bloating, a flare, all that, right? That seems to be the big issue, because we got to recognize what's going on with our bodies so we know what to do about it. Okay. So let's just kind of go over what's the symptoms of gas. Okay. So usually it's soon after you ate. So that could be immediately, 3 hours, 6 hours, maybe even 12 hours. But usually it's sooner than later. Okay. So that's typically a gas problem there. And you can feel your belly extended when you have gas. Now, if you tend to have constipation, you're going to get bloating because the gas can't get through, right? So if poops, this is your colon, the poop's sitting in there, and you eat something, let's say you had an apple or something, and it caused you gas, that gas has got to get through. How's it going to get through, right? So it's going to get through here, and look, oh, there's a pocket, right? And I'm not a medical professional, but what I think's happening is if you got poo sitting there, because a lot of times it's the lower left because that's where your poo sits, right? So you got poo sitting there, you have gas and bloating, it gets by it, it expands out those pockets, those pouches, and maybe a little bit of poop might get in there, a little bit of bacteria. And if you're sitting there smoldering and you have inflammation anyway, it's just going to, boom, there you are. Okay. So the gas can lead to a flare, but it's not always a flare. Okay, so it doesn't always need to be treated like it's a flare. It's going to be the same pain, just about. Okay, because think about what's happening. Those things are expanding, and if they're irritated and they're raw, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. Okay. Again, if you have chronic constipation, you got the irregular bowel movements, you got IBS, right? We all know a lot of times we know what IBS, and a lot of times what I'm seeing, even if you didn't have IBS before your diverticulitis diagnosis, you probably got it now, because when you take those antibiotics, it's killing off the good bacteria. And basically IBS is a lack of good bacteria in your gut. And then we just feel it more. Okay, everything's just heightened, the sensitivity. So check the timing. Check, was it carby? Was it high FODMAP? Was it full of sugar? Was it like refined sugars and flours and things like that? So that's what you're going to look at. That's going to be what's causing you the gas. If it's something that's more like a stage 4, like a salad, and salad, you know, that's because it's got soluble and insoluble, but green leafy raw vegetables are more insoluble. It's going to be harder to digest. Let's say you eat corn. We'll just use corn. Okay. Let's say you eat corn, or better yet, I think sunflower seeds, because this is a good example we need to use. Let's say you ate sunflower seeds. Be careful with those. Okay. The little, you know how on the edge, on the tip of the sunflower seed, it's really sharp. If you don't chew that up and it goes on through your colon, and when it gets there, it's insoluble fiber, it acts like a scrub brush. And if your colon's irritated, it's gonna make it worse. Okay. So that's gonna take more like 24 to 36 hours, because it's got to go from here to your colon. So that's going to be more of an insoluble fiber problem. And that could potentially throw you into a flare. It just depends on where you're at, if you're sitting there smoldering. Okay. So it's kind of like a scab. Let's say you cut your hand and it's not quite healed yet. Somebody's parking in front of my, I don't know what that's about. It's not quite healed yet. And you come in and you take a bristle brush and you start scrubbing on it, right? It's going to irritate that scab. So just think of your colon the same way. You got to give it time to heal. Okay. So look at your timing. Oh, that's my kid. Hold on 1 minute, y'all. I got to unlock the door. I didn't know it was coming home. Sorry. Save me a trip. I was supposed to get him after the workshop. Sorry, y'all. I was like, who's that people? Okay. So what do you do if you have a lot of gas and a lot of bloating? You may want to consider going on a low FODMAP diet. I think it's a good idea to do that anyway. If you're like flaring, if you're in a situation right now where you're flaring, or even if you're smoldering, I would pull back and go to stage 1 or 2, kind of flow between them, and go ahead and implement the low FODMAP diet now, because you're basically fasting anyway, right? And so when you're starting to add foods back in, add in low FODMAP to start. And then that way you're kind of building and you're getting there slowly. So that would be a lot of times like your root vegetables or low FODMAP, your squashes and things like that. So stay safe with it. You know, don't go in too hard with the high FODMAPs when you're in the earlier stages. Okay. You're going to find when you are on a low FODMAP diet, you're going to feel better. You're not going to have that gas and bloating, because high FODMAPs are food for your gut bacteria. Okay. And if you don't have enough in there to break down the food, then it ferments and it causes the gas and all that stuff. Okay. So a lot of times I see some people in the group and, you know, in other groups and stuff like that, they say, well, I've been on a low FODMAP diet for 6 months or whatever. Don't do that. You're starving your gut bacteria. We need those to survive and to have overall good health, okay? And also, I believe it's calcium. I think it's calcium and iron that you're depleting that, because the high FODMAP foods have a lot of those nutrients in them. So only 2 to 4 weeks for a high FODMAP diet. I have a IBS workshop where I go into more detail, where we break it down into categories. When you start adding high FODMAP foods in, now you're going to have to work the stages. So the stages, and then FODMAP diet on top of it. Start adding those foods in one category at a time, okay? And then document in your journal how you do. If you find that one category is causing you issues, I would pull back from that category and pick another one and then go back to it slowly. But you want to add these foods in really, really slow, because a little bit of gas is a lot easier to manage than a lot of gas, okay? And I know we're hungry. I get it. You know, maybe eat smaller meals, more meals per day, you know, until you get on top of it. If you find the transformation digest kind of fast tracks all of it, honestly. It fast tracks all of it because it breaks the food down for you into smaller pieces. You're absorbing your nutrients and you're not getting the gas and bloating. So if you want to be preventative with it, then do the transformation digest for sure. You know, just for foods that are triggering towards you. You don't have to take that with every meal, and you're not going to have to keep on taking it at the rate that you take it. So early on, you're going to take that more often than not. I still take them, but it's only occasionally. I used to couldn't eat an apple without getting really bad gas. Now I can eat an apple with no digestive enzyme or anything. Okay. So it will help you build that tolerance back up. It will help you build your gut bugs back up by breaking down the food. If you already have the gas and bloating, activated charcoal does a wonderful job at bringing it down. That's not something that you want to take every day, though. Okay. That's not something you take twice a day or whatever, because it's binding toxins, it's binding things. You know, if you're on medication, you need to space it out. Always do your research with all these supplements, okay? Cross-reference it towards your medication and your health conditions too. All right, peppermint tea soothes gas. Just the peppermint essential oil, I take it and put a little bit in my palm with a little bit of coconut oil or something, rub it on my belly, and it seems to kind of diffuse that gas a little bit too. And one activated charcoal does the trick though, like that. A hot bath, heating pads help diffuse the gas. Oh, I got something coming in. You want to move your bowels, okay? When you're constipated and you have gas, it makes you even more constipated because it's drying out your poop, okay? So you want to try to get those bowels moving. And I know that that's like the $1 million question is, how the hell do I do that, right? Well, we just got to work on finding our balance, but you'll get there. You'll find it. I promise you'll find it. The magnesium citrate. Let's see. Now, this isn't a citrate, but this is what I use. It works really well for me. It's very gentle, but it's not a citrate. So citrate is for constipation, but that will help move your bowels a little bit. You always want to drink a lot of water. If you're going to take any kind of fiber supplement, make sure you're drinking plenty of water, because it's going to have the opposite effect. It's going to constipate you. Here, I have it. I don't like it. But if you're going to do a fiber supplement, so instead of the Metamucil, the Benefiber, and all of that, this would be the natural, healthier alternative to that, would be like an organic psyllium husk, okay? And I think they have two different types where one's finer than the other. That's basically what it looks like, okay? I don't like it because it puffs up really quick. I'm not really good at getting stuff like that down, so I feel like it kind of puffs up too quick in my throat, but I don't need it. I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. Let me just go over these a little bit. And listen, I'm not brand loyal. The only one I'm brand loyal to right now is the, well, definitely the Transformation and the Gaia brand, but these do pretty good. I get these from Thrive. I've gotten other brands that have worked just fine too. Okay. You're just looking for clean ingredients, but this is going to help you with your gas and your bloating. It's going to help you if you have some GERD or heartburn, sour stomach. Maybe if you got a little bit loose stools, it might kind of at least calm it down a little bit. So this would be your alternative to like Gas X and things like that. Okay. All right. Oh, here's the digest. So this would be the preventative. So the activated charcoal is like, oh, too late. It's here. Activated charcoal. If you want to prevent it, digest before the meal, before your first bite of food. If you forget, take it. It's in there. It's going to mix up in there anyway. Okay. If it's something, let's say you're cruising along in your stages and you're doing pretty good, and you want to, maybe you have like a family gathering and you want to test things out and you're not sure, take 2. It's okay to take 2 of these. So if you're not sure if it's going to get you, take 2 of them. All right. And then also with the if I'm feeling like super sluggish, which I don't have to do this more, I'm pretty regular and I've got my stuff, my balance pretty good. But these 2 right here, for me, work really well if I'm sluggish. And a lot of times my issue is I'm not drinking enough water and I get a little bit backed up. But this probiotic 42.5, this one is a therapeutic dose, and it's also good for constipation. I also have the probiotic. This is what I take for maintenance, like through the week. I only take this if I feel like my immunity is a little bit low, or if my bowels are a little sluggish, I'll take this. This is expensive. Okay. You can take this every day and that's fine. 1 a day. But I just to save money, I get this one for the maintenance. And this one you can take twice a day, but I just take it at night. So I'll just take my probiotic at night before bed. And I'll take a magnesium if I'm sluggish, drink a lot of water. By morning, I'm good to go. It's all good. Okay. All right. And in the group, you see, if you do order the transformation, there's a code, YUNT25. Once you enter that code, y'all, that's it. You don't have to ever enter it again. If you get other discount codes, you can double dip. All right. So that is gas. So let's go on to flaring, which is similar. So this is where you got to really learn your body and keep that journal and track what's going on with you. And you'll be able to figure this stuff out as you go along. So symptoms of a flare. So we got sudden and severe abdominal pain a lot of times, right? It kind of comes out of nowhere. The fevers, the chills, nausea, vomiting. Your body's trying to fight off this infection, right? Changes in bowel habits. You might have diarrhea. You might be constipated. You might be both at the same time with one sitting, right? Gas and bloating. So that's part of it. Mucus in your bowel movements. That's a clue. Okay. That was something that before I would even have symptoms, that would kind of come and give me a clue. It's like, uh-oh, it's getting ready to come. So that was like your colon, it makes mucus. It's sort of like that infection. It's pus, basically, right? It's trying to get things cleared out. Spongy, it's hard to explain this. I was like, what are you talking about, Robin? But you get like a spongy, kind of a wet, damp feeling in that lower left or wherever your diver is. That's a good indication that you got something brewing, okay? And you may have some spasms, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to flare, but there are a lot of times those spasms, which that feels like a fish flopping around in your colon. Okay. So if your colon's sitting here going like that, you're having spasms. And I read that what a spasm is when you're constipated, you got poop here, that it spasms in between because the poop doesn't quite move through properly. So that's what's causing a spasm. Now, I did take a prescription, was it hysocosamine or whatever it is? I did take that for the spasms back then. I don't know what the natural alternative for that is. So I can't help you with the natural alternative. It's preventive. You know, getting through this and getting on the other side would be the alternative to it. Okay. Again, you know, you have to have that body awareness and track everything. Smoldering is still another level in there. We have to talk about the smoldering because a lot of people are sitting there smoldering. That's not necessarily an infection that's going on, but you got inflammation going on. And again, that's kind of like that wet, damp, kind of spongy feeling. It might even feel a little hot, okay? But you're not quite flaring, but you're not quite feeling well either. And a lot of times you'll get that brain fog. You'll get that kind of nausea, kind of sick feeling. Look at your skin. Are you getting eruptions on your skin? That's an indication that something's going on. Do you have allergies? Things like this is a clue that your gut's off, okay? So what do you do if you feel like you're going into a flare? All right. Now I'm limited in the group of what I can say because we got people from everywhere and all that. So I'm going to tell you what I do. All right. So I don't say this in the group. In the group, I say, follow the label. Now, this is an older bottle, but they're in the black label now. Okay. You see, I don't use them that much at all. So the oil of oregano is a really great natural alternative to the antibiotics. But listen, y'all, catch it. If you feel it, go ahead and take care of it. Don't wait until you're just like a mess. Okay. You got to get on it right away. So what I do, I'll kind of double up on my dose and do 4 a day. So let's say I wake up in the morning and I feel discomfort in my lower left. I'm not quite sure, but I know that something's off. It's not gas. It's not bloating. I'm getting that ting, ting, that just sits there and pings at you. If I'm getting that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 right away. I'm going to get that in my system right away. And then maybe about 4 hours, I'm not as consistent as most people, so set a timer or whatever. Then I'm going to take an olive leaf. And then I'm going to take an oil of oregano, 4 more hours, and then olive leaf. Or what you could do, my son, he had like he wasn't feeling well a couple of months ago. And so I gave him 1 oil of oregano and 1 olive leaf at the same time. He's fine, it's fine. So figure out what your balance is with it. But I would double up on the oil of oregano just for a few days. And then just go back to what the label says and just alternate the 2. Have it in your system. Have it constantly going. And they kind of tackle different gut bacteria. So the olive leaf, you can take this one as a daily supplement if you want to. The oil of oregano, I would just 10, 14 days and that's it. Okay. But the olive leaf, if you have a problem with candida yeast, and if your tongue's white, that's an indication. This actually helps that. And olive leaf is good for inflammation too. So, you may want to consider getting some olive leaf and just testing it out and see if it helps you with it. But like I said, it's a monthly or it's a daily supplement. So it's worth a try, but it's good for the inflammation. Okay. So again, do your research, make sure that you can have these supplements. Okay. I believe the olive leaf has something, maybe if your blood pressure is off, it might interact with that. So like if you're on blood pressure medicine, I think that it lowers your blood pressure. So if you're already on blood pressure medicine, it might lower it too much. So pay attention to that. Okay. And like I said, these are the brands that I take. So this is 230 milligrams per capsule. And listen, we got people from all over the world with access to different brands and different strengths. So it's hard to say, well, do this or that. So this is my gauge. So I just gauge it. Some of them come at 1,500 milligrams. I also have the concentrated drops. And I wasn't even thinking, I'm ADHD, and I put the whole dropper in my mouth, and it was just supposed to be a few drops. And I'm like, oh shit. And I was fine. I felt great. I felt great the next day. Everything was good, but it didn't hurt me. Okay. But just pay attention to that kind of stuff. And also, take a probiotic. Get your probiotics in you if you're flaring. Okay. Or if you feel like you got a flare coming in. You want to also start on your sauerkraut juice, y'all. You want to get some live probiotics in you. So briefly, so your supplements, they kind of visit your colon, okay? They replenish the gut bugs, but they visit. So you have to constantly take it for it to work. You know, you have to take it that day. But when you eat fermented foods, fruits, vegetables, things like that, that's where the money is, right? Those set up colonies in your colon, and that's what you want. So a sauerkraut is perfect for that. And Dr. Axe recommends the sauerkraut. And what you want to do, even if you're in stage 1, go ahead and start. Just start with the juice. Start with like a teaspoon. See what happens. Okay, I feel okay. And then maybe later in the day, try another teaspoon, but you want to work up to 2 forkfuls per day. And then eventually, maybe start trying in some different ones. I make my own now. So I have my my cauliflower, for my fermented cauliflower, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And when I'm consistent with that, I have no gut sounds or anything. Everything just runs as smooth as can be. So it's very important that you get that in. You could do kefir, but be careful with the amounts, okay? You don't ever want to start with a half a cup. Start with a little bit, see how you do, document it in your journal, and then go from there and build from there, okay? Also, L-glutamine helps to repair the colon. This is a powder. You can put it in your smoothies. If you can find a capsule, I'd probably rather do that because it kind of ruins your smoothie. It kind of has an aspirin flavor to it. But this does help promote repair in the colon. So definitely, you know, I would have that on hand. Your gelatin. So make your own Jell-O. Okay, so Great Lakes has unflavored. You can use apple juice. You could take like berries, like blackberries or whatever's in season, like organic. Cook it up on the stove with some water or some apple juice. Strain it and use it as your base for your Jell-O. Okay. And then you have your collagen powder, which this is like always in my smoothie. And I have 2 different, I didn't even realize I had this whole thing. So I'm set. But both of these brands are good. This is the brand that I've always used. And then Thrive started making their own. And it's a little bit cheaper than the Great Lakes. They're the same, taste the same, blends the same. So I've switched to the Thrive. It just saves, I think it was like $3. Kim asked if she would be able to have the recording. Yes, I'm going to send out the recording tomorrow. I got to let it load and cut the ends of it and stuff. Okay, so your bone broth, your gelatins, your collagens, and all that, that's going to promote the repair in stages 1 and 2. You don't skip that, okay? That's very important that you have those in there because you want to heal and repair some of the damage that's there before you start adding more fiber into your diet. And you want to pull back, go to stage 1. If your colon is angry, inflamed, hot, you got diarrhea, loose stools, stage 1 is the perfect place for you to be, okay? If you tend to be more on the constipated side and you're not really good at sticking with liquids, it's okay to be in stage 2. Just keep it simple. You bring in stage 1 with you when you're in stage 2. So you're still drinking your bone broths and stuff, but maybe make like a pureed soup, a few ingredients to start, y'all. Don't make it too complicated. Keep it super simple. You can have flavor and all of that and still feel satisfied. Okay, so maybe like carrot soup or a pureed soup. I would puree to start. You want everything to be a progression. You don't want to jump, which a lot of people I see do. So they'll be in stage 1 for a while and they're ready for stage 2. And they'll say, well, I had avocado, toast, and an egg. That's stage 3, number 1. Number 2, that's too much, too fast. An egg can be irritating to your colon. An avocado can be irritated because both of them have fat in them. And if your colon's not quite ready, you're going to have to go backwards. So how you can test that is if you end up with diarrhea. Okay. And then also an avocado is high FODMAP and it's high fiber. So don't start with an avocado. Okay. Please don't start with an avocado. And if you're smoldering, you follow this. Same thing. If you're sitting here smoldering and you can't quite get a handle on this and you're not sure what to do, start over. Go ahead and start with your olive oil and your olive leaf and your oil of oregano. And pull back, maybe to stage 1 and 2, kind of flow between it. When you're feeling better, then you can move on to the next stage, okay? But that will help knock that out. You'll be amazed. You will be amazed, all right? So if you're constipated, stage 2, because listen, if you're constipated and you back off and you're in stage 1, everything stops. Well, we got to poop it out because you don't want that pressure in the colon. So you're going to have to try to figure out where you're at with that. Okay. So maybe you can even do like a little intermittent fasting where you do a little bit of stage 1 and then maybe for lunch or whatever, you do a little stage 2 to kind of move things along. Okay. All right. All right. So next we're just going to kind of go over the stages a little bit and hit what we're doing with that. Anybody, any questions for that? What I covered on how to get out of a flare, how to get out of smoldering. Okay, so that's it's basic. Your supplements, probiotics, bone broths, stage 1 and 2. Okay, so when we're in stage 1, it's liquids, and I kind of just covered that a little bit. You're giving the colon a rest. You want your bone broths, your gelatins, your popsicles, your herbal teas, your green juice. Like I said, we just went over that. If you're used to juicing, when you're doing your green juice, like with anything, especially if you're not used to it, maybe drink a little bit to start, see how you do. And then if you can have more, that's good. So maybe 3 or 4 ounces at a time to start. Okay. You want to, when you are juicing, it loses its nutritional value the longer it sits. So you have to drink it within 24 hours, put a little bit of lime juice in it to kind of keep it. Go easy on the fruit juices. You're trying to avoid that gas, okay? So anything that you think is going to cause you gas, you want to avoid that because that's putting that pressure on the colons. Don't eat high sugar, sugary, like Gatorade. Have you ever like looked at a label on a Gatorade? That stuff's terrible. Coconut water is the alternative, but you got to be careful with that, with the amount, because it can run into high FODMAP. But if you're hydrated and you're drinking your teas and your bone broths and things like that, you should be fine. You're getting what you need. Okay. And then once you get into, you're feeling a little bit better, or maybe the diarrhea stopped, you can cruise on to stage 2. Stage 2 is the most important stage of all. Honestly, I really feel like stage 1, flowing between those 2 stages. You want low fiber, easy to digest. Don't make your colon work hard, okay? So this isn't, well, I'm in stage 2 and I'm going to eat chicken, okay? Yeah, eventually, but don't start there, okay? Because you just came off of liquids. You want that progression to be slow. So if you had liquids, the next best thing would be like a puree or a smoothie, right? So it's still technically a liquid. So that's what you want to do. So lots of soups. Use bone broth as your base, your carrots. Butternut squash is a good soup, is a really good soup to start. Small amounts to start to make sure you don't have gas. A Yukon potato over a white potato is a little bit safer because that's going to be low FODMAP. So that's going to cause you less gas. So if you wanted to make a little potato soup or mash some potatoes, maybe try a Yukon potato. Okay. Green soups like zucchinis and stuff like that. You can make a puree from that. I believe I have something in the group. I kind of threw one together in there. When you can progress to like veggies in your soup, make sure you cook that stuff down. chop them up into small pieces. You don't want your colon to work, okay? You want everything soft. Then you can start adding maybe a poached egg to get some more protein, okay? You can add a little bit of chicken, that's okay. Chop it up small. Just chop it up small, and you don't want nothing to be tough. You want everything to be tender, okay? If you're going to the restaurant, a miso soup, like an Asian restaurant, would be really good. Pho or pho. So pho broth is actually bone broth. So you could probably go to a restaurant and say, hey, can I have a thing of just the broth, right? Just make sure it's not too oily. You don't want anything too spicy or too oily at this point. You want it mild. Rice noodles, you can have rice noodles in it. Soft vegetables like your zucchinis, okay? Egg drop soup's okay. You can go to the grocery store. You can get your organic pureed soups like your carrots, your squash, potato. I believe there's even tomato soup. If you can handle that, that's okay. Like a tomato red bell pepper soup is a really good soup. Rice congee, the recipe is in the group. That's a wonderful little place to start too. It's like a really mushy rice. It's like a cup of water, 7 cups of rice. 7 cups of water, 1 cup of rice, stir. That's rice congee, okay? You can eat it plain. It's wonderful to add it in your soup. So you can add another level to your soup so you don't feel like you're eating the same thing over and over again, okay? And you can eat it as a dessert. You can add a little bit of vanilla extract, a little cinnamon, and a little bit of maple syrup. And then you can actually have something that kind of satisfies the sweet tooth a little bit. Store it in your refrigerator. Oats, rice, potatoes, things like that. If you allow them to cool before you eat them, you can reheat. So even if you reheat, this works. If you allow them to cool, they actually become a resistant starch. And so they make it to your colon and they feed your gut bacteria. So something that you can try that works. Let's say you made rice congee, you let it cool. You can eat that stuff cold. Take a probiotic with it. And I bet you your bowel movements are going to be a lot more fun because it's basically the rice, right? And you got your probiotic while they're eating it, right? So take a probiotic with it. If you're eating some oatmeal, take a probiotic with it and just see what happens. If you're constipated, just try it, experiment with it and see if that doesn't bulk up your stool. Because a lot of times when you're in stage 2, you got thin stools, it's not satisfying. So that could be a way to get a more satisfying, complete bowel movement, okay? And of course, smoothies. You want to start with more of a greenish yellow banana to a yellow banana. Maybe start with a half, see how you do, because you're getting into your high FODMAP. So I just pulled a banana. I haven't been to the grocery store. And I don't throw away bananas. So this sucker right here, it's actually perfect for me for my smoothie, but I'll freeze it for later, okay? So I'll have it. But this is a very high FODMAP fruit right now because it's brown. So this is what you want to avoid when you're healing. But eventually you can work your way up to this, and it's really good at sweetening your smoothies. So you don't have to use anything if you find that your smoothie is a little bit bland. But I would start with, like I said, a greenish yellow to a yellow banana, and then you're on that low FODMAP piece of it. If bananas aren't your thing, I think banana is a great place to start. Then you can get into berries. So like strawberries and blueberries, things like that, frozen. I know people freak out because of the seeds. You know, it's just, they're little teeny tiny seeds, okay? They're not gonna do anything. They're not gonna hurt you. And actually it's a little bit of fiber and it's okay. It's okay. They're so minute and so tiny. You're blending them up. You're blending the skins up of the blueberry. So you're fine. But start with the banana if you can. Keep it simple. You want your collagen powder, your nut milk, whatever it is, your lactose-free milk, and a cacao powder if you wanted to make it chocolatey. And then start adding in a little bit of yogurt if you can tolerate it. Kefir is going to be better for you than yogurt because it has more gut bugs in it. It's got more bacteria, healthy, good bacteria, okay? If you can tolerate it, start small, work your way up. If you find that you have gas, check in with yourself and figure out, okay, where's that coming from? Is that a high FODMAP food? Was that fruit too ripe? What's going on? Was it a fiber thing? Maybe I need to back off on my fiber a little bit. Maybe I need to back off on my sugar a little bit. Okay, so that's something to pay attention to. Okay, and then eventually, as you're feeling better, start adding in your milled flax seeds. Milled, so you want them ground up. Okay, your shelled hemp seeds, things like that, and that'll start giving you more protein and nutrition and fiber. Okay, so if so let's say you buy your ground flaxseed and it says 2 tablespoons is the recommended serving. I'd start with maybe like a half a teaspoon, okay? And then build up from there. Go slow, y'all. Y'all gotta go slow through all these stages. You can have mashed, steamed, well cooked with no skins, okay? And then as you're progressing along in stage 2, you're doing better. Then you can start eating maybe like a light white fish, your chicken, things like that. Tofu is okay, just light, very light. You don't want anything heavy. You don't want your gut to work too hard. And then progress slowly and just record everything in your journal, okay? And then when we get into stage 3, you should be feeling a lot better. I wouldn't, if I had symptoms, I don't think I would be in stage 3. Okay. I would probably hang out in stage 2 for a while. But when you're getting into stage 3, it's the most important, well, 2 for healing and repairing. But when you're getting into stage 3, this is the stage that you're going to live your life in most of the time. Okay. This is your soluble fiber. These are your high FODMAPs too. This is your gut food. Your gut bug food. This is what they eat. It's the soluble fiber. They don't eat the insoluble fiber. They eat the soluble fiber. So you got to feed them. And that's the key to this. Okay. So stages 1 and 2, we're repairing the colon. We're fixing that lining. We're making everything, the cells work. And then we're getting into stage 3. All right. Now we're going to start adding in more fiber. We're going to start feeding our gut bugs. Okay. It's a slow progression. So what it does, so soluble fiber, actually, it needs the water, right? So it gels up and it bulks up your stool. Okay, so it's really good if you have diarrhea. So even if you're not in a flare, and let's say you get loose bowels and you don't pull back, if you kind of ate a little bit more soluble fiber, that's going to bulk up your stool and kind of absorb that water for you. It's an anti-inflammatory. It's vegetables, fruits and vegetables. It's an energy source for your cells, for your colon and your body. It can ferment in your gut and cause the gas and bloating. And that's when you don't have enough gut bugs in there. So pull back on the amount, write it in your journal. Figure out, is that a high FODMAP? What was it? What category is it? Am I also reacting to the other foods in that category? Right. So like lactose, that's your milk. That's a category right there. Right. So that's your milk, your cheeses and things like that. The words are so big, y'all. I can't, the GSOs or whatever. That's like your wheat. I think wheat, onions, garlic, asparagus. That's one category right there. Okay. So if you find that those foods are an issue for you, it might be that category of FODMAPs. Okay. Take your digestive enzymes if you're feeling like you're having a lot of gas and bloating from it and you're just not breaking your food down. Okay. And it can be found on leaves, vegetables. A lot of these plants, they have both soluble and insoluble. So try not to get too hung up on that. You want mostly soluble plants, food, fiber in stage 3. Everything's cooked. Okay, so you're not, your fruits are raw. You're okay with that. But cook your vegetables. So if you're introducing a food, let's say it's time to introduce broccoli, and that's further along. Okay, I'm just choosing it. So you don't want to start with broccoli, but let's say it's time for you to introduce broccoli into your diet. I would steam it first. Okay, see how you do. Maybe do that a few times. You do okay. Then maybe the next time you might want to air fry it, roast it or whatever, because it's more dense, right? So everything's a progression. And then you can start adding in more of your proteins, okay? more of your chickens, your turkeys, your seafoods, and things like that. Your meat is a condiment. It's the size of the palm of your hand. So if you have a little palm of I got a small palm, so mine's not very big, but that should be how much meat is on your plate. Most of your plate is plants. Avoid those thick skins. So your apple skins, pepper skins, things like that. When it comes to zucchini and squash and stuff like that, don't worry about that. Those are thin, right? Don't worry about taking the seeds out unless it's like a really big one, which y'all shouldn't be eating those anyway. You want the tender ones, okay? You can add in your more, so, okay, when you're in your stage 3, you can add in your fat. So get in there with your avocado, get in there with your olive oil, your ghees, and your coconut oils. When you're in stage 2, kind of be careful with your fats, because it's like if you're irritated, right, and you eat fat, sort of like a grease, right? If you have a fire, that's irritation, and you put grease on the fire, same thing with your gut. So if you put too much fat on something that's already irritated, it's going to make things move quicker through your system, and you don't want to do that. Let's see. Is there a source you recommend to learn about FODMAPs? Yeah, I'll send it to you. Let me write it down. I'll email you what I send people. But I've got a couple of sources to help you with that, but I will email it. Let me write it down so I don't forget. Okay. Now, so when it's time, let's say that you've been doing good in stage 3, you've got several plants under your belt, you're feeling good. You're like, okay, I think I'm ready for stage 4, but I don't know what do I do? What do I do? Okay, well, maybe put some spinach in your smoothie. Grind it up. See how you do with it. Maybe if you're ready for kale, make a soup with it. Put it in your soup. So try it out like that and build. Again, you're building. Everything's a progression here, okay? So that's how I would start introducing stage 4 type foods. If you're going to eat a salad, I wouldn't eat iceberg. That stuff's tough on the gut for some reason, right? Romaine tends to do okay, but it can be a little bit tough too sometimes. Chop it up small. I feel like the tender, like the baby spinaches and the arugulas and things like that tend to do a little bit better. And they're very nutritious, very nutritious. Okay. So when you come into stage 4, that's your insoluble fiber. So again, like I said earlier, your insoluble fiber acts like a scrub brush, and it's basically like cleaning out your colon. So it's got a purpose, and it's a good purpose. It's great for constipation, which is kind of the rub, right? Because we can't have it when we're over here in stage 1 and stage 2. We're over here constipated, but we can't have it. But as you're going along and you're looking and you're finding your personal balance, and you're finding, I'm still a little bit constipated, I can't quite get a handle on that, maybe try adding a little bit more insoluble fiber into your diet. Okay, watch those amounts, because it could push things a little quicker than you want to. So again, you're documenting. You want to add, I would start with maybe 1 or 2 things at a time every 2 or 3 days, because the insoluble fiber, you're not going to know for a couple of days if it did anything, because that's the one. It doesn't break down. So the human digestive enzyme doesn't break it down. Your gut bugs don't break it down. It keeps its form, except what you chew up, right? So it's got to get all the way through the digestive system and land wherever it's going to land and irritate you. Okay, so take your time introducing stage 4 insoluble fiber foods into your diet. The recommended, if you want to count your fiber grams, once you're in, because when you're in stage 4, you're in maintenance. You pretty much made it in maintenance. Okay, you're still kind of trying things out, but you're doing good. You're killing it, right? So you're going to shoot for, if you want to count your fiber grams, shoot for like 24 or 25 grams or above, roughly. Use your bowel movements as a guide and how you feel. That's the way I do it. I don't count, but I kind of gauge by where I'm at that day. Okay. So again, it bulks up the stool. It's good for constipation. So you're looking at your whole grains, beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, your raw vegetables, your raw leafy greens. skins. So this is when we're getting in this to the skins. You can have skins. You can have anything you want by the time you hit stage 4, once you know that you can have it. Chopped salads, spring mixes, things like that. Okay. So those are the stages. Let's see. Add fats in stage 3, 4. I would start adding fats in stage 3. You should be able to handle it, because by the time you get to stage 3, your colon shouldn't be angry anymore. And it's going to depend on your body, how much fat you can handle too. Okay. So some people might be able to handle more fat than other fat. And you need to check in with yourself too when it comes to fats. Without going too much off sideways, Ayurveda, your doshas, and I can send you all that dosha quiz if you want to. I'm Vata Pitta. So if you're Pitta, fats can aggravate your Pitta. It can aggravate your digestion. Your mood comes into play too. If you tend to be irritated or aggravated and you eat too much fat, it can set things off. Sometimes I can eat an egg. Sometimes I can't. I have to check in with myself. That's why I tell you, check in with yourself, y'all. One day I might be fine, the next day not. Okay. It fluctuates. Everything's going to fluctuate, and you got to be able to ride that wave. Where am I at today? What's going on today with myself? What's going on with my mood? Am I feeling this or that? So check in with yourself. Eat the rainbow. The more colors you can eat, the happier your gut's going to be. Okay. Very quickly, I want to take a carrot and an apple, and I want to take it through the stages for you so you can understand how they work. So let's take a carrot. Stage 1, carrot juice. Stage 2, pureed carrot soup. Stage 3, we got more time in stage 3. Stage 3, start with the steamed carrots. Then perhaps you can do roasted carrots. Okay, it's a progression. And then when you get to stage 4, you're in that puppy raw. Okay, an apple. Stage 1, apple juice. Stage 2, applesauce. Stage 3, a peeled apple. Stage 4, you're eating the whole thing, except the core. Did y'all know that the core actually has more probiotics in it than the whole apple? So eat around it. Now I really get in there and I'm like, well, let me get all the bugs I can get. Okay. And that's basically the stages. Your stress and your anxiety and all that plays a big part in this too. Okay. So you're going to have to manage your stress. You're going to have find ways to ground yourself, connecting with your breath. If you're feeling out of sorts, you can't heal if you're always like this, right? If you're always in that fight or flight mode, your body can't heal. You've got cortisol, adrenaline, it's pumping. And some of us, it's chronic, right? When you are able to relax and calm down and stimulate that vagus nerve, the purpose of the vagus nerves is to calm you down into a rest and digest state. Okay. And if you've been like this for years, you might have some kinks in it that you got to work through too. Okay. The vagus nerve starts at the base of your spine. It comes down. This is the only place it comes down. So it comes down your throat. So you could actually do things like this to stimulate your vagus nerve. Okay, you can pop it, whatever you want. You can hum. So there's things you can do to stimulate it. I go over that more in my anxiety workshop. We get really into detail and zero in on that. Good sleep. That's when you're healing, y'all. You got to get some good sleep. If you're having problems sleeping, put in a meditation, a guided meditation at night. Okay, do some deep breathing. Maybe figure out if you can do some kind of maybe a bath before bed, things that'll really calm you down, get you in that I'm ready for bed state, maybe a book. Okay. Exercise is very important, part of the whole picture. Okay. So find something that you love. Don't do stuff that you hate. I don't believe in that. I hated exercise. I absolutely hated it. I was resistant to it my whole life. And That's changed my life. Who knew I'd be teaching Zumba and yoga? Never in a million years would have thought that. But I found something that I like to do, that I love to do, and I teach it now. I wish I would have known this when I was 20. So whether it's swimming, whatever it is, walking, going out into nature, just get out, get outside, get some vitamin D, 15 minutes a day on your bare skin, 10, 15 minutes a day. Look at the sun with your eyes closed. That stimulates your vagus nerve. Okay. Let's see. Should we exercise even in the early stages? Yeah. Now, I wouldn't be jumping around or doing anything like that, but absolutely, you could do light stretches. There's a 20-minute yoga video in the group for gas and bloating. Just do that. You slow down, you go down, right? So you got to keep moving your body. You got to, if it gets the lymphatic system going too, you want to flush that stuff out of your system. You don't want things to be blocked, right? You don't want that. You want to get it through. You want everything moving and flowing. Okay. You don't want stagnation in your body, in your head, wherever it is, in your gut. You don't want any stagnation. You want things moving. You want to be healthy. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'll get you that email. Oh, hold on. What could we have for snacks? Okay. Let me finish this and then we'll take some questions. Dancing, yoga, things like that, healthy diet. Obviously, all that's going to help with your anxiety. Like I said, there's more to anxiety. It gets a little bit more complicated. It's basically, my viewpoint on it. It's anxiety is something that's not really in your head. It's in your body. It's like old stuff that's stuck in there that needs to come up. So be willing to investigate when things come up. Be willing to kind of be a witness to it and feel it and breathe through it and see if you can let it kind of come out and go out. Instead of, the more you stuff it, the more sick you're going to get sick, right? That's how we get sick. That's how we get sick, y'all. All right. So that's basically it. Let's recap. Journal. Take your supplements to boost. They are not going to fix everything. You have your sheet to go by. Read labels. Read labels, y'all. Seriously. Avoid added sugars, refined, processed foods, gluten. I'm going to say I'm gluten-free. It's a personal choice, but just try it and see what happens. Okay. I'm dairy light, but if you're in a flare, I would avoid the dairy. Okay. Unless it's yogurt, because the bugs break it down. Chemicals, dyes, ingredients you can't pronounce. If your grandma doesn't know what it is, you probably shouldn't be eating it, right? Flow between stages 1 and whatever stage you're in. So you never leave a stage behind. That's how you manage this, right? You're checking in with yourself. Well, today I think I'm gonna have me a soup. Well, you're in stage 2 when you're in there, right? So that's how you flow in between the stages. And that's basically it. Okay. Yeah, I'm over. I'm always over. Okay. I try. I really try, but I'm always over. So we're still going to do the Q&A. If anybody has to leave, let me know and we'll get to you first. Okay. Let's see. I think I answered that one. What can we have for snacks? Well, I need you to be clear on what stage you're in for snacks. Because it's going to depend on what stage you're in. Obviously, fruit is always a nice choice. According low FODMAP, if you're in early stages, and so so pay attention to where you're at with that. You're looking at your stages. That's fiber. You're introducing fiber slowly. Your FODMAPs, that's sugar. That's fiber carbs. So that's 2 different things that you're looking at that could be a problem that you want to go through very slowly. You want to kind of weed this stuff out. Try not to avoid if you find that, okay, well, this high FODMAP food's bugging me a little bit. Doesn't mean it's always going to bug you. Okay. So don't take it completely out of your diet just yet. You just need to build your gut bugs up. Sort of like when you go to the gym. You first go to the gym, it sucks, right? It sucks. You don't want to do it. It's hard. It hurts. You're sore. It's the same thing. But if you continue to dig and dig and dig and show up, eventually you start building muscles and you're feeling really good. It's the same thing. It's like that with anything in life, right? So that's what we're doing when we're working these stages and basically eating healthy. That's what this is. It's getting you to where you can eat healthy. Because if somebody doesn't have holes in their colon, they can have gas. They can go stage 4 just fine. Eat that salad. They're still going to get the gas, right? But they can handle it because they don't have those pouches and possibly blow out. Okay. Is there a link to the anxiety video? It's in the group. Just go into the guides and you'll find it. You'll find it. Okay. Y'all have any questions? Shoot. Fire away. You're quiet. Oh, somebody's here. Late. What's up? Is there more information on the vagus nerve? Yeah. On my anxiety workshop, I like really go into detail about it. That's your mind-body connection right there. It's kind of through that vagus nerve. Let's see. There was a study. Where did I read that? I think it was in the Fiberfield book, I think, where he said what they did a study with mice. And so they threw mice in water, swim, mice, swim. They kind of decided when they gave up, right? Kind of like when they were about to go, oh, I can't do it anymore. They pulled it out, they timed them. And then they gave them yogurt, threw them in the water to see if they could swim. And so they could swim better. They lasted a lot longer. Okay. So then they cut their vagus nerve, threw them in the water. They didn't last. They still gave them the yogurt, but they didn't last. So there's a direct connection between your gut bugs and everything that's working. That rest and digest is important. I mean, the vagus nerve is rest and digest, right? It's crucial. It calms the heart rate down. It calms you down. It gets you out of that fight or flight. And if it's out of whack, you might be out of whack for a little while until you get a handle on that. And there's so many different things you can do for it. Let's see. I'm dairy free. Can I use almond milk in my smoothies or should I use it? Yeah, almond milk's fine. Just don't get it like packed full of sugar and all that and try to get organic. Aldi's, if y'all have an Aldi's, they're wonderful and they're so inexpensive. And they have a lot of organic products that just this much. It's not very expensive at all. Thrive Market, I order from there monthly. I get, like I said, my collagen. So that's a Thrive Market right there. My collagen, a lot of I use coconut palm sugar. I haven't used white sugar in years. I just don't use it. I use coconut palm sugar, my supplements. I get my oil of oregano's and all that's from Thrive. And it's cheaper too. I'm all about saving money. I'm on a budget, so I have no choice. Okay, let's see. Angela, did I hear you say there is 20-minute video on yoga in the guides? Yes. Yep, there's a 20-minute video in the guides. There's also some meditations and some deep breathing exercises in the guides. Let's see, Natalie, Robin, I'm still on IV antibiotics. Ooh, is it normal to have mucus on your, yeah, you got a lot of inflammation in there. If you're on IV at antibiotic, you're on the early stages. So it just means that you got some healing to do. Yeah, it's just inflammation and infection, right? Again, it's like pus. Anybody else have any questions? Anybody want to pop up on the screen? Let me pick your brain. Let's see. Oh, y'all quiet. All right. No more questions? I'm going to change my view so I can see everybody. If you're on. If you're not, don't worry about it. If you don't have your screen on, don't worry about it. All right. All right. Are we good? Wow, y'all too easy. So everybody's clear on how to get out of a flare. That's the most pressing thing that you need to do. How to avoid the flare. Okay. Don't wait until it gets into the ditch too much. Okay. Go ahead and be proactive. Get these supplements on hand. Have them in your little medicine cabinet or whatever. And if you do feel like you have a flare coming on, I would jump into action right away. The oil of oregano, the olive leaf, the probiotics, the sauerkraut. You should be doing the sauerkraut and that stuff anyway, but I would definitely do those things, and think about, how can I support my health? My little bugs, my little everything. What can I do to make them happy? Okay, like little chia pets in there, right? You got to water your chia pets. Okay. All right, Angela says she'll think of a question later. Probably so. All right, y'all. Well, if y'all don't have any questions, I guess we're done. I didn't go too bad over. Actually, I think I'm on time, aren't I? Y'all sure? Yeah. This is like the first time ever. I'm so proud of myself. All right, y'all. Hold on. Okay, we got a question. Back to the L-glutamine. Can I mention it again? It helps to repair the gut. He said, I have the powdered. If it comes in the capsule, that's what I would buy. It tastes like an aspirin. I don't know if y'all can see. It's white in there. It tastes like an aspirin. So it is going to change the flavor of your smoothie. You can put it directly in there, but it will change it. I'm particular. I have a very sensitive palate, and I like my stuff to taste good. Okay. Take it every day. Let me see. I think so. And I want to say with the L-glutamine, if I remember correctly, it seems like you're supposed to, it does better with like vitamin C, but if you're putting it in a smoothie or taking it with your smoothie, you're kind of covered, right? Because a lot of fruit has vitamin C. Half a teaspoon. Yeah, it's just half a teaspoon a day. So, all right. Let's see. Elizabeth, is it recommended to have a colonoscopy to see how the gut is? I would. Absolutely. I think the colonoscopy is a better test to see what you're dealing with. And then you can kind of have that baseline too, right? What's interesting, I had a colonoscopy done 3 years ago. My insurance is like a deductible thing, right? So I had a colonoscopy done, and I had my allergies tested again. I had my allergies tested like 10 years ago, about 10 years, maybe somewhere around there. And so I had both of them done. My colonoscopy came back as mild diverticulosis, and my hiatal hernia was gone. And I researched that. I'm like, well, how the heck did that happen? It's the deep breathing and the yoga and building the core up will help. So if you have that hiatal hernia going on, it's possible to reverse it, okay? But you got to get in there and you got to breathe. So your diaphragm helps with that, okay? And then when I got my allergy test done, it's the prick test. It's like seasonal allergy stuff. It wasn't food allergies. He came back, he's like, you're not allergic to anything. I'm like, your test is wrong. That doesn't make any sense because I was allergic to everything but cats, and it's gone. Allergies is autoimmune, right? So think about that. I don't get brain fog. If I'm at a point now in my life, now I'm older, I'm 51. If I eat too many carbs, and my carbs is healthier than a lot of people's carbs, I might feel a little bit in my joints now. I might get a little blemish if I have gluten, and every now and then I dabble, but I take a digest. Or if too much gluten or dairy, I might get a little bump come up on my face. So that's what tells me, and I'll look at my tongue, maybe the sides of my tongue might be a little jagged or whatever. So that's a clue to me that I need to behave and back up and get a little cleaner with things. Okay. So eventually you'll be able to tune into your own body, and you'll be able to catch it before it does anything. I mean, it doesn't even make a gut symptom, right? But it's a clue. If I'm stressed out, so a lot of times when you're stressed out, maybe you don't take care of yourself like you should. Maybe you're grabbing for more comfort foods and things like that. So pay attention to those types of things. Diet, that's related. That is related to diet. It's not just a stress thing, because we act different and we are different. Okay, let's see. Do I have a recommended brand for the L-glutamine? No, just this stuff. This is just powder form. Y'all just have to look it up and just, you're looking for clean ingredients. Do I have experience with aloe vera juice or supplements? I tried the aloe vera juice back when I was trying to figure things out. I don't know. It made me feel weird. It didn't help me. It just it felt like it aggravated my gut. So I don't know if it was the kind that I took or whatever. It was like, back then it was like a Sam's membership. I remember I got it from Sam's Club. I didn't like it. So I don't know. It's not part of the protocol, but some people do take it and they seem to be all right. You want to avoid the kind with latex in it, okay? Because that can cause some issues. So just pay attention to that, okay? Angela, I also take Plaquenil for lupus and have the bursting red blood cells. I'm learning now, getting my girl. Yes, get your gut in check. That stuff might melt away. It did for me. It did for me. I was a complete mess, y'all. Everything was off. There wasn't anything that was right with me. Everything was off. And at 51 years old, I felt pretty good. My body's strong. I got muscle. Who? Never knew I had that, right? I didn't know that was even possible. I have muscles. I have strength. I have stamina. I have energy. I listen to myself. If I feel depleted, I'm not going to keep on depleting myself, right? So yeah. I'm telling you, y'all get a handle on your gut. If you attack this from a leaky gut perspective, number one, and then with the stages, add in that fiber in slowly, you'll get on top of it. You'll get on top of it, but it's not going to be something that's going to be quick. It's going to take some time. You're going to take a step forward, 2 steps, but it's like this, kind of like having a baby, right? When you're pushing out a baby, they tell you kind of got to hold it there, and then it goes back and forward. And then eventually you get there. You get there and you don't even realize it. Look at, let's see, Monique Howard in the group, she posted the other day. She's taken workshops. I've worked with her a little bit one-on-one. She's come a long way and she's worked the protocol, and she's had that rheumatoid arthritis. She struggled with it, and her test results, her inflammation markers are way down. Okay. Go find her post, Monique Howard. It's wonderful. I knew that was possible, but I didn't think it would happen this quickly. So she's been able to get that down. Now her mood had stuff to do with it too. So, we had to really work with everything, but it's amazing. It's amazing. Okay. Cholesterol is high. Yeah. Well, when you start eating more fruits and vegetables and things like that, that'll all go. Also, all right. So you've just got inflammation issues. And listen, I was a mess. I was inflamed from head to toe. I had the vertigo, and then I was going through menopause through all this stuff too. Right. So everything, and then going through separation, a lot of different things at once. But you can do it. You can do it. Let's see. Can I go over supplements once more? All right. Very quickly. Let's go over. I didn't go over all these, did I? All right. Very quickly. Digest, #1 supplement recommendation, hands down. If you don't get anything else, this is what will help you be able to eat again and not hurt. Okay. Then the probiotic 42.5, that's your therapeutic blend, and that's good for constipation. It's a little bit more expensive, 1 a day. Probiotic is maintenance. If you wanted to just get this, because this is expensive, you could take 2 a day until you then work down to 1 a day. I just take mine at night before bed, so I have a nice little bowel movement the next day. And even if I don't have a bowel movement the next day, like clockwork, if I drink a smoothie, it's there. I didn't go over the protease. So the protease is good for inflammation. So this actually detox and clears out the blood. And I did take this with the digest, but I didn't take it as a blood cleaner outer. I took it as for protein. So this is a digestive enzyme if you do tend to eat protein. So like if you want to go have a steak, this is what I would do. Okay. I would take a digest and I would take a protease. So like if I went to Outback or something and got a steak, I would take these 2 together, and that would help me digest the steak. Gastro, this works pretty good. So if you got heartburn, reflux, all that stuff works good. I would not, it does say in the directions to take it with meals. I would definitely go for the digest. This is going to be better at breaking your food down, but I found that this works good if you already have the reflux. Again, Monique in the group, she talks about it in the group that she takes these. I wasn't talking about these much because I wanted to make sure they work, but she's been able to get off of her heartburn medication, and now she's doing this. I think she says she takes one in the morning. Y'all can ask her questions. She's just the sweetest person. Activated charcoal, if you already have gas, bloating, upset stomach, heartburn. So this is good for heartburn, things like that too, okay? Oil of oregano, olive leaf. This is just in this workshop. I tell you, not in the group. Double up on it. So for the first couple of days, if you're in a flare or you want to get rid of your smoldering, double up on it. You could take 2, and then maybe 4 to 6 hours later, 1 olive leaf, and then 1 oil of oregano, and then 1 olive leaf, and just have something in your system. I also would personally take the garlic supplement, but you got to be careful with that because then you're going into that high FODMAP. I also do colloidal silver. I got to be careful talking about stuff like that in the group because people get really bent out of shape about colloidal silver. I use colloidal silver every day as a nose spray. With COVID and everything, I'm like, kill it. You never know. Magnesium is good for your constipation. So you could do that with a probiotic. Okay. Citrate is for constipation. This isn't a citrate, but it works great for me. It's very gentle. This is gentle. It's not going to make you have explosive poops. And then you have your gelatin. If you're going to take a fiber supplement, ditch the Metamucil and all that and go with like a psyllium husk. Oh, and then if you have pain and discomfort, it's not going to be the same as an ibuprofen or a Tylenol. Okay. But turmeric is good for inflammation, pain, and things like that. Okay. When it comes to, people are, I don't know, with the ibuprofens and stuff like that, I will take an ibuprofen every now and then. I think it's more like if that was something that you took on a regular basis kind of thing. And that's with anything. Let me just say one more time, as needed, you don't want to take this and rely on it for your gas and bloating. Get a handle on the gas and bloating. This is only after you've already had your gas and bloating. So if you're having gas and bloating every single day, you need to be reworking your diet or get a digestive enzyme or go low FODMAP or something to figure out how to get a handle on that. Don't rely on these. These are as needed. Okay. All right. Now we're over. Vertigo. Yeah. Oh, that vertigo is tough. I felt like an elevator. Right. I don't know if y'all have ever had vertigo. I went, and so the question is, have I ever used Calm? Because I know everybody loves that Calm stuff, like, right, for your magnesium. I went and bought some because everybody was talking about, number one, the ingredients aren't natural. Number two, that stuff's nasty. I got 1 sip in me and I was done. I'm like, nope. It was like fizzy too. And I don't do fizzy because gas bubbles too, right? But I'm sure that's fine, but I didn't like it. So no, I've still got it. It was a waste of money. Waste of money. All right, y'all. I will send you tomorrow. I have to upload this and everything and get it on YouTube. I will send you a link to this. You will have this recording to refer back to. Watch it. Okay. Some things you're going to get, and watch it again if you have any issues. Breeze through it. I just bought like a platform to be able to put on my stuff. So once I get that set up, I will get y'all set up on that platform and have your video there, but you'll have it. Okay. So I'll transfer you over when you get that, but just give me some time with that because it's tech stuff and I don't like tech stuff. I don't like it at all. But other than that, I think that's it. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate y'all coming to the workshop today, and I hope you got something out of it. I know I kind of go fast and kind of at you, but there's so much I can talk about. It's ridiculous. There's so much we can do, but just choose one thing, whether, start journaling, number one, and just kind of just try it. just gain slowly. You don't have to do everything at once. Just slowly start working it. Okay. And just build. You'll get there. Be patient with yourself. It's a slow process. It took you a while to get to where you're at. So it's going to take a while to dig out. Okay. But you can do it. You can do it. Okay. All right, y'all. Well, y'all have a great Sunday, and I'll see you in the group. All right. Bye.